was the danger of being Jewish gone then?
No.
Or because of Stalin?
No. Well, Stalin died in 1950 something, 53, I believe. Okay. The danger wasn't gone at all. I remember to this day the anti-Semitism that I experienced as a child. My father always wanted to go to Israel. Okay. And his family left. Okay. And he was applying on an annual basis, filling out paperwork, asking to reunite with his family in Israel. And every year was denial. Every year was a denial. And what happened then is that, by the way, I'm an only child. Okay, so my mother was working at a factory as an accountant. And one day, I believe it was 1964, the president of Lithuania, which was a republic, which is kind of like a state in the United States, like the governor in the States, he was scheduled to come in and visit this factory, okay? And my mother, kind of figured out that she needs to talk to him. And why is that? Because my grandfather, the driver of the Packard, that was his best friend in childhood. Apparently, my grandfather, the president of Lithuania, were drinking buddies before the war. That's a story I hear, okay? So my mother, just for the record, Basia Kalanskys, as you know, the day of the visit, she was able to push her through the crowd and get to him and shake his hand and tell him who she is. And he remembered her as a child, okay? And he told her immediately, he said, come to my office. I mean, I'll give you a pass. Just call me when you can come, and I want to sit down and talk to you. You know, we need to reconnect, okay? So a few weeks later, she made the appointment. She went over there, and he met her. And the first question he asked her is, how can I help you? And you have to understand that under Soviet Russia, help means that they can give us a better apartment, they can give us a better job, maybe can give us a vacation somewhere. I mean, there's no money involved, but I mean, there's some benefits that the elite had that normal plebeians like us, we didn't have it, okay? And she told him that all she really wants is for him to arrange for her husband, my father Shmuel, to go and live with his mother. Essentially leave the Soviet Union and go and visit and live with his family in Israel. Now you have to understand that 1964, nobody was living. It was the Iron Curtain. Nobody was leaving Russia at all. He was very disappointed. He said, you know, I'm very disappointed because I thought that you're a patriot and you love the country, and suddenly you tell me that you want to leave. I mean, I'm not happy with that, okay? This is not right. I mean, I really didn't expect you that you're going to do that. I mean, I was ready to give you a new apartment, you know, arrange you a better job, but you're kind of shocking me by telling me you want to leave. He says, I understand, but, you know, I love my husband, and that's what he wants to do, and I have to go with him, and if you really want to help us, that's the thing I ask you to do. I think it was a few weeks later that she was summoned to the local office. I'm not sure exactly which office it was. And I remember that all three of us went. It was night. It was winter in the January of '65. Cold, dark. And my parents went inside. I waited outside for some reason. And they came out and said, we don't believe it, but we got a permit to leave Lithuania and go to Israel. And I'm saying, why are we doing that? I mean, what's wrong here? You know, the child, I was in shock. I mean, I just didn't think it's going to happen. But anyway, that's what happened in January. My parents did all the paperwork, of course, passport, etc., packing what we have. And in late April of 1965, we were scheduled to go and leave Lithuania / Soviet Union and move to Israel. We didn't have much belongings. Okay, we lived like essentially in a one-bedroom house, which I had the bedroom. My parents slept in the living room with the sofa that opens up. And we had luggage was a few boxes, but with us we had a few suitcases. And I want to point out that one of the suitcases I used to come to America. 20 years later when I came here, I used one of the suitcases, and I still have it today. It's in the garage. Okay, that's where we keep the toys that the kids were, growing up. So I still have the suitcase. Okay. So it was interesting when we left Lithuania, Russia, Soviet Union it was late May. It was the first day of Passover. Okay, you let my people go. First day of Passover. We're leaving, and I remember that the family, the friends came to say goodbye to us at the train station. And I remember seeing my grandmother, and she hugged me, and we went on the train, and it was an overnight trip to a border town where we switched trains.
So you were 10,
11. I was 11 years old. And I remember that around noon the next day, we reached the border with Hungary. And the train stopped at the border. And the soldiers, like in the movies, the Russian soldiers were with the big boots and dogs, went through the train, checked the paperwork. I could hear steps on the roof. I could hear dogs running underneath the train, looking through the window. Checking anybody here, anybody there. I looked forward, and I saw the gate. There was a gate over the tracks, closed. It was a while before everybody got off the train, and I can see the gate opening up. And my father tells me, if you don't remember anything ever, but remember this time and the word Shema Israel. I'm saying, what does it mean? Because we weren't religious at all. And he says, doesn't matter, just remember those words, okay? That's all it is. That's all you have to remember, Shema Israel. And I can see the gate opening up, and the train is moving through the gate, and my parents are crying, okay? We arrive to Budapest. It's the capital of Hungary, the first day of Passover. The train stops. The three of us get off the train with remember, 3-4 suitcases we had, and the train leaves, and we're just standing on the platform. Okay, that's it. Our tickets were to Budapest. We don't know anything else. Scratching our heads, so what do we do now? Let's get a hotel maybe. We don't know what to do. And suddenly, out of nowhere, a gentleman approaches us, dressed like, if you remember the black and white German movies of spies. He's dressed in leather coat, a leather hat. He is a spy as spies come, okay? And he says, Jews, in Yiddish. My father says, yes. Okay, good. Do you want to come today? I'm responsible. Apparently, he was responsible to meet people every day at that train. And he says, the past 6 months, nobody came on that train. But his job was to come to the train and see if anybody's coming from the Soviet Union. He said, I didn't want to come today because today's Passover. I didn't think any Jews are going to travel on Passover. Okay, I had no idea what Passover was, okay? But I knew what Passover was because we had matzah. My mother, that's a separate story. My mother used to, there was a bakery in Lithuania. Okay, maybe I'll go back for a second to that. There was a bakery in somebody's apartment in the basement, okay? And you all had matzahs. You know how matzahs look, okay? But this is not real matzah what we're eating today. The real matzah is made in an underground bakery. And it's not square like we know it today, in a box, nicely packed, okay? My mother used to bring it in a pillowcase, okay? Because she walked through the streets in a pillowcase, with matzah that was any shape you can imagine, okay? Anything but square. And you know the little holes they have on the matzah, the rows, like perfectly, none of that. The holes were everywhere, okay? Because somebody was making the holes with a fork, okay, preventing it from rising. And so I knew what matzah was, okay? But that was basically the extent of my Jewish education, okay? I remember before we left Lithuania, my father took me to a synagogue. He says, okay, you know, we Jews, we need to go what the synagogue is, okay? I was never in a synagogue in my life. And we came to the synagogue, and as it happens, that day it was closed. We knocked on the door, nobody opened. We said, okay, well, we tried, you know? So we went back, and that was my entire Jewish experience in Lithuania. The secret agent takes us to this fancy restaurant. And I remember big windows, a lot of lights coming in, white tablecloth, fancy silverware, everything, okay? And he did us a great favor. He ordered the food for us because we had no idea what to order. He ordered the food for us, okay? And what he told us is that we need basically to kill a day with him in Budapest because there's a train at night that's going to come and pick us up to take us to Vienna. But what he's going to do is going to take a cab and take us to see the city. So basically for a few hours we drove around the city after we had lunch, and he showed us places, and I just remember the river and the parliament. Okay, I was 11 years old then. At night, he brings us back to the train station, puts us on a train, wish us luck, and we are on a train to Vienna. A few hours later, it's a 2 or 3 hour train ride, we show up in Vienna, and there is a greeting party there already. I mean, people come in, greet us, and they take us to a transition center, which essentially was an old army base. And that's where the Jewish agency was gathering all the Jews that wanted to go to Israel. They would bring them there for staging purposes. Little did we know, they also wanted to disinfect us as well, okay? So they went through some medical checkups. We spent about 2 weeks there because there was, they could ship us essentially multiple times to Israel, but somebody whispered to my dad's ear, say, why don't you just stay here, enjoy it? I mean, come on, stay. What's the big rush? So May 5th, 1965, we are boarding the plane. For the first time in my life, I'm on a plane, 11 years old. And we're flying to stopover. It was Olympic Airlines. We're stopping over in Greece. Okay, and the dinner on the plane, they serve us, everybody gets 2 little plums, some food and some plums. Okay, so I take a bite into a plum, and that thing tastes so bad. I mean, wow, this is bad. I take another one. So my father, this is spoiled. This is not plums. My father says, yeah, I guess they're not good, and we don't know what it is. These were olives. The first time I had an olive, okay? So we arrived, it was a night flight, so we arrived on May 5th, 6th, and to Israel. And it's the evening of the Israeli Independence Day. Literally nobody at the airport. We're coming off the plane. There's nobody to greet us. There's nobody there. The 3 of us just standing on the runway. So now what? Okay. The policeman there says, well, you know what? Why don't you go with me? Nobody's greeting you here. Let's put you up here in the police station in a cell. Okay. Sit here. In the morning we'll figure out what's going on. Now, there was no cell phones. There was no email. There was no phones. So nobody knew we were coming. Okay. The morning comes. I remember the 3 of us, we sat the entire night on one bed, kind of sitting, waiting for something to happen. Okay. In the morning.
Just like with your grandkids now.
Pretty much. In the morning, a pickup truck shows up. And me and my mother and the driver sit in the front. My father sits in the back on the suitcases. And we need to go to visit our aunt, Miriam, and their family. I mean, that's where we're going to go. We don't speak Hebrew. The driver doesn't speak Yiddish. How do you communicate? Okay, so my father had the address, and he knew it's in Rehovot, the city. And somehow he convinced the driver to go to the police station. We went to the police station, we all went inside, and there was a big map of the city. My father found the address and pointed, that's where we need to go. And the driver took us to that address. So we arrived to this address, and of course, being Independence Day, that's the day of the parade. Day of the parade, nobody's at home, everybody's at the parade. Okay? You know, again, there's nobody there, and the three of us are standing there saying, okay, what do we do now? Luckily for us, the neighbor across the street says, are you Miriam's brother and family? We said, yes. Oh, they expected you, but they didn't know where you're coming, so they figured out nobody's going to come today because it's Independence Day, so they went to the parade, but they're going to be back soon. Come to our house. So we went to their house, and they greeted us, and we sat there. And a few hours later, the family showed up, and everybody's crying, family reunion, ta-da-da-da-da-da-da.